Farmers Union taught me that, how important it is to educate everybody of where your food comes from. And you can start with that with pretty little ages, right?
Yeah.
And kind of just ignited this fire on me. So I just started looking into, and I saw this thing called Farm to School.
Welcome back to Common Ground North Dakota podcast. Hi, I'm Heather, a commercial chef.
And I'm Jen, a registered dietitian. We're curious consumers on a journey to discover where our food comes from and what it takes to get products from North Dakota fields to our tables.
Today, we're visiting Amanda on her farm near Animus, North Dakota, to learn about crop to classroom, connections, and showing up. Let's dig in.
Well, welcome back.
Welcome back. Where are we? I mean, I drove here.
Yes.
But I'm not quite sure how I got here.
We're in Animus, North
Okay,
Dakota.
yes,
And a
Animus.
moose and a cow.
Yes.
No. We saw some pheasants.
Yes, and some really pretty lakes, and there's like some nice elevation happening.
Yes. We're kind of south of Devil's Lake, north of Bismarck.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
Right
in the
Amanda's
middle.
In
here to
Amanda's
tell us.
kitchen. Let's introduce. Thank you for having us today.
Thanks for being here. It's great to be here.
Is that where you would describe Animus as?
Yeah, right in the center part of the state.
Central part.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we are at your kitchen table at your farm. And this was your mother-in-law's farm?
Yep, she grew up
on?
right in this house. This house. She came here when she was 3 years old, and her dad, her mom passed away when she was really young. But they moved here when 1954. I think this house was built.
Okay.
So yeah, and then the farm that my husband grew up on, that was his farm that his dad had, his grandpa had.
So another generational farm.
So both generational farms, and been able to keep it in the family. But so it's interesting because my husband grew up like playing here. You know, he came here to see his grandparents when he was a little kid, and they would be farming and, and watching his grandma mow the yard and stuff too. His step grandma, his grandpa remarried. But we were able to move into this house. We've been in here for just over 10 years.
Okay.
So.
It's so beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah. We've done major work to it. It seems like a brand new house. I'll have to show you pictures sometimes of
the before and after.
Yeah, the before and after. Yeah,
that's so cool, and I bet it means a lot to him to be on a family farm, and you.
It does,
right? And you said you also have farm or farmland or a farmstead in Drake.
Yeah.
And
so
how far is that?
So just about 6 miles from Animus, but it's north of Drake, just about 3 miles, and that's his. So his parents. They had dairy cows. They grew up dairy farming. And in the early 2000s, when things were really going down for dairies, which they are right now too, they had to sell out, and then they transitioned everything into grain farming. And that was about perfect timing for my husband. He was just graduated high school, and decided he needed to stay on the farm. So they transitioned everything to grain farming. And my father-in-law and mother-in-law were really integral in that part. But where they live is where his dad, so my father-in-law's dad grew up too. So they're both in the family farm. So my mother-in-law was from Animus. Okay. My father-in-law is from Drake. My mom is from Drake. So we're very our parents grew up together. And so it's cool. Funny when we get together and we're like, my daughter Mia, her grandparents get together. It's like they went to school together.
They have a lot to talk about.
They've known each other their whole lives. So it's really been I didn't realize how important that was. Right. That's a very good connection that not a lot of people get to have all the time.
Right. So, and similar values and upbringing, which is nice.
Yeah. And I didn't realize how important it was that, to my mother-in-law, when we moved here, she's like, this is where I grew up. And it's okay, that settled in. That I get it now. I didn't grow up on a farm. The farmstead that my grandparents had is long gone. Okay. So I didn't really have any history of that. But in this area, you don't realize it's all tied back to family. And that's how important it is in agriculture too, and in farming. So yeah.
Well, and you have a daughter, so I'm sure her seeing her granddaughter run around this farm.
That's special.
She's a lucky girl. She has both sets of her grandparents within 5 miles.
Oh, wow.
That's really awesome.
And that's nice for you too.
Yeah, it's great for me.
Yes. Because farm life can be long days.
It can be long days.
Yeah. And it's nice to have that family support.
Yeah.
So you mentioned they transitioned from dairy farming to grain farming. So what else do you and your husband grow? What other crops do you grow?
Sure. So right now we grow canola, wheat, soybeans, and pinto beans. And we've done all other crops too. They used to grow corn. They used to grow flax. They grew peas. He also had a certified seed operation too and grew seed production too through NDSU Extension. But we've kind of laid back on that because we've also rented more acres in that time frame. So it's like we really need to be on point with what we're doing.
Sure.
And then maybe that can come back. So it's like they've grown sunflowers, they've did all of that. But now we've really narrowed it down to those 4 crops. And that's really what has been working with rotation right now.
Okay.
Pinto beans is interesting. We don't hear that a lot.
No.
I like that. I'm an edible bean lover.
I love beans. Yeah.
They're very nutritional.
They are very nutritional. And they're really fun. So we actually sell them right over to the Pheasant Co-op. And they bag them there and for selling. Yeah.
Okay.
Which
Pheasant Co-op?
Yep, Pheasant Co-op.
Okay.
Yep.
Am I going to go by there at any point?
No, you won't unless you're headed straight back east on 52.
Okay.
They're in between like Harvey and Carrington.
Oh, amazing.
Okay. Yeah.
So they sell your pinto beans.
Yep. They sell it. Yeah.
That's so cool. Right from the field to consumer.
Yep. And there's two actually, it's crazy. Like Pheasant is like the bean capital. It must be because they have Kirkcaldy beans and then they have the Pheasant Co-op. And both of those do like pinto beans and all of the edible beans. So it's really interesting to see how much of that's like in Pheasant.
Yeah.
I need to go
which
there.
is only about 40 minutes from us. So it makes sense for us to sell there.
But can I go buy it at the Pheasant Co-op?
I don't think so. I think
what if I call ahead?
But you can buy at Kirkcaldy. I think Kirkcaldy would sell them to you. Okay. And they're not far out of Pheasant.
Okay. Sometimes people take pity on me though.
Yeah. Kirkcaldy, I think would. I don't know if Pheasant, because they don't have any in right now. You know, they haven't taken any pinto beans. So Pheasant and Co-op would be like, we don't have any. We've already sold them all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's not the fall. But Kirkcaldy would probably have some.
So like specialties, I'm almost thinking
specialties,
like what works where. And that's kind of what Heather and I are learning is like the different parts of North Dakota specialize in certain crops. And does it make a difference too? You said Pheasant is about 40 miles. Does it make a difference for like what crops you grow, how close the elevators are, or where you sell them?
Yeah, we used to grow flax, and I love flax, but we would have to haul to Fargo. So if my husband wanted to be there in time,
it's a full day.
Getting up at 3 a.m. to just get, if he can get 2 loads done in a day, it'd be great. But we're still we're about 4 hours from Fargo. So I mean that'd
be a long trip.
That's a long trip. So that's one of the reasons why we don't grow flax anymore.
Right.
Now, if the elevators around here had good prices for it, we probably would, but that was the best price and at the time. So yeah, it really does matter for what we are choosing to grow. And we grow canola in this area because in Valterra is where at ADM is where we sell our canola.
Okay.
But the wheat and soybeans, we have elevators very, very close all over. Animus has an elevator.
Nice.
North of Drake and Guthrie has an elevator. So we have a lot of options for that too.
I went by Guthrie.
Did you? Yeah. I probably did too.
I love seeing all these towns on the way that you've heard of, but that you didn't.
That you didn't know exist. Yeah.
Okay.
It's fun.
So beyond the farm, you have another job.
Yep.
A full-time job.
I do. I work as a farm to school specialist for North Dakota Department of Public Instruction.
Ooh.
That's so amazing. That's like right up Heather and I's alley.
When I saw your job title, I did get a little jealous. It sounds amazing.
It's fun.
Tell us how you ended up there and what exactly you do.
Yeah, it's really funny because you would think that I would have a background in like child nutrition or dietetics. I have none of that. I have a background in psychology, and everything from the moment I graduated college has been into agriculture. So how I got into that job, so I worked for North Dakota Farmers Union for 10 years. I worked in member advocacy, helped in all sorts of different programs and events, and really was starting to see the education component. And really Farmers Union taught me that, how important it is to educate everybody where your food comes from. And you can start with that with pretty little ages, right?
Yeah.
And kind of just ignited this fire on me. So I just started looking into, and I saw this thing called farm to school. And a lot of states did it, but North Dakota was pretty much in its infancy for it. I mean, we had a lot of different groups doing it and a lot of different things, but nobody was really calling it farm to school that much.
And what year was this?
So I left Farmers Union in 2023 is when I started DPI. Yeah, I left in 2023.
So you were seeing that was something that we needed in North Dakota.
Yeah. And so I saw that they had a job opening and I was like, I know nothing about the Department of Education, but I am going to go try this.
Yes.
So I applied for it and I've always I've always had really good connections to other commodity groups, to other farmers and producers and ranchers, and I've always kept those connections up. And I didn't realize how important those were once I started this position. And I think that's what they seen in me too, is like, okay, you have this vast network that we have no idea of anything about. And they didn't know anything about agriculture. You know, it's like they knew, but they didn't know.
Sure.
You know, a lot of them are far removed from the farm. So it was just this integral piece. And they're like, okay, it's like magic happened. And our team is assembled.
Cool.
Yeah. So I work in the Child Nutrition and Food Distribution Office. And our office oversees all child nutrition programs. So our school lunch program for breakfast program, you know, even our like child and adult care food program, even things like to help with food banks and stuff like that. So our office oversees all of that. And so
all of North Dakota.
State?
Yeah, for the state.
Whoa.
So every school, every public and private school that's on the National School Lunch Program. So just over 200 school districts. But yeah, and I work for the whole state. So I'm actually perfectly located in Central because, you know, where you guys are from, it's only a 3-hour drive. It's not bad, but you have to go down to Heidegger.
Right. So you can kind of make your way around.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. So what sort of education are you bringing to the classroom?
So one of the integral things that I discovered right away that needed to be done is reconnecting with the Department of Agriculture, because they're really the ones that have the expertise on the education. And so one thing, I was really lucky. A really good friend of mine was hired as their local foods marketing specialist.
Okay.
And she's like, my job is now going to be farm to school. And I was like, all right, let's get together.
Yes.
And we've had a long relationship. Her husband's actually from Drake, so I've known her for years. And so we got together and they started doing classroom kits, and they would send out educational kits to classrooms all over, you know, be microgreens. They did like an edamame, specialty crops. It was so awesome. So that was the first thing that we kind of partnered on, was doing these kits to classrooms. And then it's like, okay, we're going to do farm to school takeover days. Ooh. We're going to go to large districts and we're going to work with them for a local supplier of a product. So we were actually in Grand Forks Public Schools last year and did a Fresh from North Dakota, and they purchased, or actually they were donated all of the potatoes.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. Yes. So we've been doing that. And
I got to tell you, that week, my kids came home with the literature in their backpack.
Oh, great.
And we took it out on the dining room table. I learned a lot from it. They were so excited about it.
Good.
Oh, because they know I love food, and they're like, Mom, look, they were.
Yes,
so what a great program.
Right?
Yeah, it is a great program. And really it's, you know, all of the cooks and nutrition directors that work in our schools really care about what our children are eating. And this is really just right up their alley. They want to add to it when it can work, of course. Wendy Mackey up there in Grand Forks, she's wonderful. She wants to do more farm to school. And so she's just very passionate about it and trying to get everything rolling and starting and to continue it on. You know, once you start that work, that extra tedious work of working with producers, it does take a lot of extra work to continue it. So trying to make sure that we're providing resources for that too, and technical assistance
and connecting.
has been important. And connecting,
So smart to have North Dakota Ag with, I mean,
it
you
made
have to
sense.
have that partnership.
Yeah. And we've had a lot of partnerships. Commodity groups have been huge. The Soybean Council has been huge. We've done, just did an education day at Jefferson Elementary in Fargo a couple weeks ago. And that was so much fun. So we featured edamame. They did edamame salsa.
Ooh.
Fun.
Yeah, it was so yummy.
I bet a lot of those kids had never even heard about edamame.
Right.
It was so cute to watch them pop out the edamame. They'd go pop, and then it would come. It was so cute. It was so cute.
And once you expose them to something, even just having the knowledge of what something is, makes you more comfortable.
Right.
Right?
And then they're more likely to try it.
Yes.
And
in time.
Yes.
In time.
Yes.
And to know we grow that here.
Yeah.
Yeah. We feel like, you know, there's farm fields everywhere that we have such a connection, but we have children that come to this state from all over that maybe don't even have a background, or it was their grandparents that had a background in farming. I didn't know about agriculture until I was in my ag education class and was an FFA. I would have not known any of that. So not everybody gets to have that opportunity.
Right.
It is important to, you know, show them where their food is made. It helps increase their consumption of fruits and vegetables, and it's all just a beneficial program.
So do you have to go to the Capitol to try to get funding, or how does that work?
So my position, so I am funded by USDA. So I have a farm to school formula grant. And essentially that grant pays for my position. And then the state of North Dakota basically matches it. So I am a state employee with matching basically for my salary from USDA.
Okay.
So that grant runs out in 2026. So definitely hoping that they bring out another grant because I really love my job.
You've been very successful.
So hopefully that continues. But yeah, basically in that role, I have certain projects that I need to keep up with. And then one of those is called Harvest of the Month. That's the other education piece we do.
What's that?
So it's a poster project, and they're cute little posters. I'll have to show you one later.
Yes.
And essentially it has cool facts about various things that are growing in North Dakota. So for example, the soybeans and all they're turned into, whether it's the crayons or whatever, soy sauce, all the stuff.
Crayons.
And they're cute little posters all over the lunchroom so little kids can kind of, so whether they're waiting in line for breakfast or lunch, they have something to look at.
Yeah.
That has been pretty fun. We did, so May is Beef Month, right? So we worked with North Dakota Beef Commission, and we have a poster for Beef Month. And then the North Dakota Beef Commission actually sends out kits to thank all of the school cooks all over the state. Like they give them a bunch of freebies like aprons and cooking utensils and recipes.
So cool. I love that.
And then they can add in more beef into their school lunch menu. And then they take pictures and kind of have like a special day. And then they do like a big social media campaign on it. So it's been really fun.
Beyond the education, this is huge for growers too.
It is. Yeah, it really is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I love this topic because I've been trying to do more with my work at UND, and the Beef Commission has been awesome for that. And we're incorporating into menus for athletes.
Yes.
And then the athletes really, I feel like young kids look up to them. And then when they see them eating in nutritious ways, I think that's important. And then some of my kids being like college students, they come from all over the world.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. Like to share then you're going to school in this amazing part of the world that grows a lot of your crops, and like introducing them to different things, which is, I love it. So we did a cooking class the other day with soy, and like
fun.
We got them in the kitchen with dietetic students. So I'm a firm believer in like bringing them to the table, introducing them like, hey, try this and try these different things and see what you like, and teaching them about the benefits, right? And that's kind of what you're doing, like with the smaller children and high schools. Are there any other areas that you bring this to? It's like Head Start.
Yeah, I had actually just recently, so I partnered with the Department of Ag. They had some extra funding for like a mini garden grant. So there's always like 3 elements that comes to farm to school, right? It's the education, it's the local procurement, and then it's gardening. And you don't have to do all 3 to be considered doing farm to school because it's not a mandated program. It's not required. But if you're doing just one of them, you're doing farm to school. And so we've been trying to hit harder on the gardening aspect of it. There's a lot of schools, even when I was growing up, we had a greenhouse attached to our school. So a lot of that is coming.
Drake.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
We had an amazing ag teacher. And really all of that's kind of coming back. So helping in that. And recently I just did some heads in my daughter's Head Start. I'm like, hey, you're the guys that are the pilot project here.
That's awesome.
But did some microgreens kits through Legendary Greens in Mandan, and basically showed them how to grow them. They're just the baby plants of what they would grow up to be. So it was broccoli and peas, and then they get to try them at lunch. And so it was one of the kits that we did with like 1st through 4th graders. But I was like, we've never done it with like ages 3 through 5.
Yes.
So does this still make sense to them? And how can we break it down on a level that keeps them engaged? And, and it worked. It was really fun. They just loved, and now they have them in their classroom. They have school through the end of next week. And so I can see them when I do drop off, like they're spraying them and they're growing.
They
and
take care of them.
Yeah, they take care of them. It's so cute.
So there's nothing like hands-on learning, right?
So,
and then being able to eat that and be excited about it.
Oh yeah, because they have pride.
Yeah,
and
like, and you think like you have to have, like when you have a gardening space or a greenhouse, like it has to be so. No, you can do this indoors. Like, there's nothing better than February in North Dakota being able to see something green growing in the field.
We all need that.
We all need it.
We do.
Yeah. So it was really fun. I'm hoping to continue that with that age group as we go on. And so the mini garden grant also helped with daycares and Head Starts and pre-Ks.
Okay.
So basically they're given $400 to use towards supplies to purchase to start a garden or maintain one if they already had one.
Sure.
So we spent so much time focusing on the local purchases ideas from local producers, it's like, okay, now we need to get into the gardening part and how that ties into education.
So if someone's running a preschool and they are interested in that, they would reach out to you?
They can reach out to me.
Cool.
I can help in, maybe it's just unique connections. Maybe you need to have a talk with your administration and they have questions and all sorts of things. Maybe it's just a connection to your local public health unit.
Right.
Maybe they have some education or extra grants.
Yes.
I can be that connector for you.
Or you think
cool.
even nurseries.
Yes.
I'm sure they'd want to help donate and build this up. And
My daughter's class went to the Animus greenhouse.
Okay.
And they did like a field trip there. And then they
that's
get
so
to take
awesome.
seeds.
To tie it all together.
Yeah, we're
then
going to do a field trip there too.
Yeah.
Yes, you need to take a field trip there. It's
we
beautiful.
should have brought a trailer.
What were we thinking?
So you're busy, right?
Busy.
I mean, so are you
Yeah.
able to control your schedule, like when it's harvest and things are so busy on the farm?
Yeah.
Are you able to kind of pull back, or how does that work?
Yeah, actually, it's been so I am a full remote employee, so that's been helpful with
nice.
it too. But it's weird, the times when I'm busy for my position at DPI, I'm not really busy on the farm. So it's
Okay.
like,
It works out.
Yeah.
That's
it's
good.
like now we're getting to the end of the school year. So just finishing up some things. It's more like working on the computer, doing budgets, writing out curriculum, things like that. Versus when I'm traveling a lot more, it's during the winter.
Okay, so that works.
It's kind of
yeah.
a really good trade-off there. So
Well, because when I was stalking you on social media, researching for this podcast, I saw you do pumpkins in the fall.
I do pumpkins. Yes.
Oh my
That's so
gosh, the
cool.
most beautiful pumpkins. What
Thank
are they?
you.
Heirloom? Why are they so cute?
Yeah, all different varieties of pumpkins and squash. So I have always been a huge Halloween fanatic.
Okay.
So if you're around my place anytime in the month of October, my birthday's in the month of October, Halloween's in the month of October, it's just my month.
I love it.
So I started growing pumpkins a long time ago and just loved them. And so I started growing more and I always had a few extra. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to sell this.
Yeah.
So my husband and I were like, okay, let's make this legit. And we made like a Facebook page. It's called Windy Acres.
Yes,
And he-
Windy Acres.
because it's windy here all the time. He came up with the name. So
I like
shout
it.
out to my
I like
hubby
it.
for
I
that
was looking
name.
for the Windy Acres sign as I pulled up.
It's coming.
Okay.
It's coming.
Yay.
It's coming. I had an old painted sign and it looked like a fourth grader painted it. Sorry to the fourth graders, but you do really good. But I'm 36. I can paint better. So yeah, we're going to get a professional sign.
That's awesome.
But I've always just done it as a roadside stand. And really when I started it, I really kind of started during COVID or during the pandemic as a way to like continue connections with my community. You just felt so isolated during that
Yes.
time period. So, and you feel that even more when you're in a small town and
Right.
you're busy farming. So it was kind of my way to kind of give back to the community. And I often have donated them to the school if they needed them, but now they have a school garden. And so,
Yeah.
Okay.
but yeah, I grow all colors. I have pink, I have blue,
Pink
I have
pumpkins.
greens, I have yellows, whites. I grow really extra large, huge ones to even teeny tiny ones.
Oh my
gourds,
goodness.
all sorts of different things. So
We're coming back to Windy.
Yeah.
Well, and before we sat down to talk with you, we got to look around your farm. And I could tell right away you were in education because the way you explained planting to us and you showed us the little planting discs
thanks.
that you use for your pumpkins. I mean, it just the way you explained
Makes
it made
sense.
so much sense.
Yes.
Thank you.
I could see the seed getting planted. So
yeah.
you're in the right job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're helping everyone.
Thank you. I
Yes.
appreciate that. I really do have a passion for this job. I love when I get a producer that's like, okay, hey, I want to connect with schools. How can I do that? I
That's
have a
so
school that
cool.
wants to do that, and making that connection is always like, that's my favorite part of the job. And then when I
Yes.
get to go to the school and see it all kind of come to
that's so
fruition,
fun.
even better. But really better for them too.
Yes.
I mean, they're just they should be so proud of their hard work.
Right.
So, and the same thing with the pumpkins. When I see them all done in the fall
That's
and I'm
gotta
picking
be-
them.
That's
Yeah, we grow
awesome.
on just over an acre. It's actually just behind us on our pasture across the road.
Okay.
And so I have my little tractor I
Yes.
showed you, and
Nice little seat on there, comfy seat.
I sit in the back, and my husband drives because I can't drive straight. So if you ever see me mowing lawn, you just know that it's all over the place. I'm either chasing snakes or I just
like abstract.
So he is like, he doesn't even need GPS. I don't know why this
Really?
man
Yeah,
has,
my husband's that way too.
he's just
knows
he
where they are.
He's always been on the straight and narrow. Life too, right? So
Good thing he has you.
a good thing he has me
Yeah.
to have some fun, right? He drives, and we use this old corn planter from the 70s, and we just drop in the seeds and and it works every year. It has worked. So
That's so cool.
There's one year
I love
we
that
had
you do
drought
it together too.
Yeah,
It's fun.
that's kind of the thing that I think I love most about farming is how much time we get to spend together.
That is nice.
I didn't realize that would be like that. And so anytime I've ever picked like a different job, it's always been something that we can still we still have time together. I'm not out in an office every single day. I mean, I do have travel and I love that travel. But I feel like we still get to spend a lot of time together.
You can balance it with working from home.
Yeah. And we get to have our daughter involved.
Yes.
You know, anytime we get to have her in the tractor or combine or helping us plant pumpkins. She loves that, picking the pumpkins.
Sure. Yes. Yeah. Well, you were telling us earlier that she's already picked out the tractor she wants handed down to her.
Yep.
Which tells us how much she loves the farm.
Yeah.
If she's already thinking about...
We got a good deal on this. Yeah. Oh, she does. We got a good deal on that tractor. And I remember when he went out east to go pick it up and he sent a picture and I showed it to her and she goes, "That's my tractor." And I'm like, okay. So I was like, it's kind of mama's, but
we'll share.
But you can have it. You can't drive it yet, but sure, you can have it.
Yeah. You can claim it.
You can claim it.
In 15 years, I'm going to be driving.
I bought her a little tractor, like a little Hot Wheels tractor.
Okay.
Yeah. And now she has that. So it has kind of...
She's transitioning.
Distracted her from that one.
Good move.
So she drives all over the yard. She has a little trailer with it. So you'll see sticks at the end of the driveway. She's hauling all of those.
She's working.
She's practicing.
Yeah.
For later on.
And they're watching, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're always
they are watching. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Mimicking.
The other day she just realized, she's like, "I'm a farmer too." I'm like, "You are. You are a farmer."
How cute is
like
that?
she just it was really sweet. She's just like, "I'm a farmer." I'm like,
just
"You
had
are,
this
Mommy."
moment of realization that,
"Mommy, I'm a farmer." I'm like, "You are, Mia. You are."
Cute.
Yeah. So it's been really sweet. She loves that girl. She loves her daddy. So anytime she can, I didn't think she would come to it for farming, but she loves it. She loves being in the tractor. She loves being in the combine. She loves, I thought she would be like a girly girl, kind of like I was when I was growing up. I'm like, no dirt, no. Yeah. She's like, whatever.
I'm good.
She's good.
She goes for it.
Yep, she goes for it.
Cute.
The muddier, the better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Amanda, you were talking about connections and how that helped you get this job and just, everything in life. It's so important, but that's something you've worked hard at too, because you're on how many boards? You're on the school board?
I'm on the school board. I did help start our community food pantry in Drake.
Wow.
I stepped away from that now.
Okay.
But I have been involved in McHenry County Farmers Union. I'm not on the board, but have been involved in that. And
so that's intentional.
Yeah, those have all been intentional. The school board has taken a lot more of my time, but I've really tried to get away from other boards to make sure I can devote to that. I'm the vice president and I wanted to make sure that I have time to do that. So, but we have an incredible administration and superintendent that really takes care of things. And so
that's awesome.
It's really been more of a learning thing for me than I've really had to step in and do things. So, it's really crazy. Like I said earlier, I grew up in Drake and they're always we co-opted together in the 90s, Drake and Animus.
Okay.
And it's kind of funny because still the older generation is like, "You're on the Animus school board, but you're from Drake." But I live in Animus. I live closest to Animus. Okay, I know. It's fine.
Next time, can you be on the Drake school board?
Yeah, exactly. My husband's on the Drake Fire Department, but not on the Animus. So it's just funny how those small towns. Yes. But the same thing with the connections too. I love people. I've always had I think that's why I went into psychology.
Yes.
I wanted to help people. And so making these connections and figuring out ways that I can just provide assistance wherever I can be needed, I think has always been my calling. Did not realize that until I was in my 30s. But, I've always picked jobs, it seems where I can be helpful and be purposeful.
Right.
And so even when I was at Farmers Union, I wanted to make sure that I was creating events and activities that were not only educational, but I felt like I was helping. So whether we did some, lobbying on something, I was helping in that, and that's kind of what still kind of doing the same thing. Just helping schools and daycares and producers connect together.
Relationship building is so important with anything that we do, I feel like. And that takes a while.
It does.
It takes a while.
You have to show up. And for a while there, you're just okay, yep, I got to show up. I got to show up.
You don't. Maybe you're tired and you just got done with work and it's been a long day, but you have that board meeting and you go.
You go. You have to show up, and you don't even realize just showing up, even if you're not even speaking, still matters.
Yes,
just showing up.
Yep.
So.
Well, we've learned a ton. I feel like we could ask questions all day. Don't you?
Ask away.
I maybe do have one more question.
Yeah. Ask.
So you're surrounded by agriculture here, but what about those people that aren't? that maybe don't have a good understanding
Yeah.
of what we do here in North Dakota, what's one thing you would want them to know?
That we care about the food that we're producing. We're not intentionally trying to do something that we couldn't be proud of. We're going to grow the crops that we're going to be proud of. Yes, at the end of the day, we need to make sure that we're feeding our family too, but we're feeding our family with the same crops.
Right.
So we definitely feel proud, and we feel, we trust what we're doing. And so if you have questions, ask us. We're an open book. Yeah. We're not ever going to hide something. We want you to know the way that we're producing food is safe, and we're going to continue doing that. But in the same way, too, farmers have a business to run, and, we have things to do, but sorry that you don't get to be a part of it. Sometimes I feel like we're in this unique, clique of people. I'm so thankful that we get to experience this type of life. And I feel for those that don't get to experience that. So if you want to experience it, come over. I want to show you these things. But yeah, I'm very grateful that I get to be a part of it. I didn't grow up on a farm. I'm glad I married the farmer and got to be a part of it. It really has showed me a whole viewpoint of life that was vastly different.
Well, and I think you being in education, that helped, right?
Yeah.
Because you didn't know.
I didn't know.
And now learning, it's almost easier to teach those that didn't know, because you've seen both sides of it.
Yeah, I've seen both sides of it. And I feel like, I think a lot of people just think, we're just, I don't know how you want to say it, farmers, but really we want to do the best that we can. And we care about what happens to Main Street. We care about what happens in our communities, and we're going to do everything in our power to keep our communities built up. I heard a saying a long time ago that was farmers are what keep Main Street open. And that's really true in small communities. Besides the school, agriculture is our next best, highest industry that's been hiring. So our school hires, that's our biggest employer in our small communities, but also agriculture is. So we have to keep up both so we can provide for our communities and make sure that they stay around. So farmers care about what's happening in North Dakota. We care about our communities, and we want to keep them going.
Yeah, I love that. And when you said you're an open book, I think you really are.
Yes.
And saying, if you have a question, ask.
Just ask.
Yes. That's genuine.
Yeah, right? That is genuine.
You truly want to let people know what you're doing.
And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. These are the things that are happening. This is what, it looks like. But I'm not going to sugarcoat it either. Sometimes farming isn't all the feel goods. Sometimes there's hard decisions that have to be made. Yeah. And that's the same thing in any business, but maybe a little bit more when you work with family too.
True.
So it's, it's a family business. There's a little extra things that come with that.
Of course.
Also, it's a small town. So,
Layered.
Layered. Layered.
Well, thank you so much.
It's so fun.
This is great. Yeah.
Can't wait to come back to Windy Acres. So probably around...
I usually start selling the last week of September, second week, maybe third week of September.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
And we can look, you're on Facebook, Windy Acres.
Windy Acres and Instagram.
And Instagram, so we can keep tabs on you.
Yeah, it's funny because I was doing some pictures of our farm and life, but I was like, you know what? People love the pumpkins. I'm just going to keep with the pumpkins.
I was going to do that.
I would like to see the other stuff too, but the pumpkins really pulled me in.
Yeah. I am definitely a millennial as social media and just thinking of all of this beautiful setup here. Yeah, I can't do that. So it's just real life here.
Which we appreciate. I feel like that's what people connect to.
Oh, I totally agree.
And they can tell what's real.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a good life. I'm glad that I get to live it.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's episode or learned something new, we'd love it if you could rate and review the podcast. It helps keep the conversation going.
Let's keep chatting on Facebook and Instagram at Common Ground ND. Send us a message. We love hearing from you. Or catch us on YouTube to watch our adventure on the farm.
Join us again for our next ag adventure. And remember, stay curious.